Hello everyone, we welcome you all to this week Tech Tuesday webinar on C360 data model, match merge and hierarchy in MDM SaaS. Today's speaker is Shaurya Das, who's a senior solutions architect. Before we start the session, let's go through some of the housekeeping tips. The webinar is for 1 hour that includes 15 minutes Q&A. You can post your queries in Q&A box which will be answered at the end of the presentation. All participants will be muted during the presentation. The session will be recorded and it will be available on our InfoSupport YouTube channel and Success Portal where you can download the slide deck. Please feel free to submit your suggestion or feedback for the session in the post-webinar survey. The Success Portal is a microlearning platform that offers free, unlimited learning to all the registered users. This feature-rich platform helps you learn and adopt to Informatica products better. The following are a few important links that you can go over later. This will help you in your product adoption journey with Informatica. Over to you, Shaurya. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. A very good morning to all of you. So today we are going to discuss master data management, the SaaS environment, data model, matching, and hierarchy as part of this Tech Tuesday. So first things first, I'm trying to give a brief overview of what the SaaS model looks like, what it comprises of, and what are the most salient features available. So you can model most out-of-the-box data models, industry standards like life sciences, pharmaceuticals, logistics, retail, any kind of industry standard models can be accommodated and used as part of the MDM SaaS model. So it's completely out of the box, customer 360 model that Informatica provides. It's very easy to extend in the new modeling canvas, create new field groups, attributes, business entities. Also, you can use reference 360 for managing your code lists and lookup values. And you have smart fields, which are basically context-aware data types that can be used as part of the data model. So the next one is where we are specifying the document model type data model, right? So what does it basically mean? We have smart fields like person name, organization name, address, date of birth, social security numbers, email addresses, phone numbers, and so forth and so on. And then you of course have your basic fields like, okay, text fields, booleans, integers, decimals, lookup values. So it's kind of follows a document or a data structure model where you have the parent entity and you have all the child entities grouped together, be it address or email addresses or phone numbers all taken together. You can onboard data and ingest it from your legacy source systems into the MDM SaaS 24/7 into 365 anytime you want. You can use the cloud data integration to write to the MDM staging area. MDM generates data quality mappings to apply data quality rules automatically. You can use various connectors like Snowflake, Oracle to access different types of heterogeneous databases that are available in a customer's technical landscape. You can use machine learning based file import. You can use manual data entry via the business UI for MDM SaaS, and all kind of data flows can be orchestrated by the cloud application integration. Next comes to verify, standardize, and enrich. So of course you can use the cloud data qualities that are bundled. You can use data quality rules associated directly with MDM fields. You can trust downgrades tied to DQ rule results. You can do phone, email verification through those services that Informatica provides. So you can do all types of verification, standardization, and enrichment of the data while it's being ingested from the source to MDM. You can match in any type of language and any entity type. You can do identity matching. You can do auto match and merge rules. You can do manual match and merge rules. You can do threshold based rules where you can use AI to do your match training also. You can do a merge managing. For example, you can do the cell level survivorship. You can do decay of those rules based on the trust values that you declare. And you can do the auto merge versus manual review rule configurations. You can do a search and explore. You can do Elasticsearch. You can search across multiple business entities taken together, and you can do safe searches. You can do filtered searches. You can search on multiple entities. You can see in the screenshots over here a typical search, what it kind of looks like. So you can search for different keywords and parameters as well. Next is govern, collaborate, and create the hierarchy. So of course you can have human tasks that are orchestrated by cloud application integration. You can use Claire, which is our smart engine, to do the smart file import. You can create structured hierarchies. You can configure business events to publish any kind of data changes out of MDM. Uh, so you can create your own workflows. You can govern the data through those workflows. Send it for approval. You can create these workflows for business entities like organization, person, any business, custom business entities that you create. So you can basically do everything under one roof. And of course, you can create your hierarchies and relationships and manage them. Next is orchestrate and publish. So you can do your publishing 24/7, right? You can publish through cloud data integration batch jobs, through real-time APIs, through business events, which is event-based publishing. You can extract data, using the export feature. So there are different mechanisms of egress that you can do. Here on the screenshot, you can see this is like a sample data integration mapping just to kind of export all of the MDM data that is required to be published outside the MDM ecosystem. And then you have the security. We have very extensive roles, groups that can be managed on the platform. We have role-based access control. We have industry certification standards and assessments done so that individual teams in the organization need to see the data that they need to see. So you can create those kind of compartmentalizations in the tool. So now let's talk about the reference architecture for a bit, right? Before we go into more specific features of matching and hierarchy that we're going to cover in this Tech Tuesday. So on the left-hand side, you can see the section marked as A, where we have the different kind of legacy systems. We have the different event hubs, we have apps, cloud, cell phones, CSVs, like different kind of data inputs and data sources, right, in different formats. In the layer B or section B, you obviously have the entire MDM ecosystem, which is the data quality and profiling. We have data integration. We have master data management itself. And on section C over here, you have the consuming applications who consume the mastered, enriched golden data from MDM for usage in advanced analytics, data sciences. You publish to data warehouse or data lakes. Different organizations are consuming the master ID or the master data for cross-reference purposes. So this is the overall reference architecture, right? So if I just give a brief walkthrough of this, right? So in one, right, discovery, this is the part where in this stage, basically the systems are profiled to discover the metadata available for use within the enterprise. Then comes the second part, right? The second phase. This is called the profiling. So here what happens in this step, the source system gets data profiled to identify data issues, cleansing needs, and data challenges that are there. Next comes 3, which is the data integration. Here you use cloud data integration or cloud mass ingestion. This stage where they use the profile data, and these are needed by the enterprise and businesses, and it is moved from their origin to any target system as applicable, in this case MDM. Next comes the stage 4, right, which is basically during this data integration, the source data can be cleansed and standardized using CDQ Cloud Data Quality Assets. Uh, there are potential issues that are identified during this stage, and they are corrected using the data quality rules. Next comes number 5, where using the data integration components, the source data are cleansed, standardized, and moved to MDM SaaS for mastering and consolidation. This will include the master attributes, relations, and hierarchies for various domains. Next comes phase 6 and phase 7, where the mastered, consolidated, and enriched data is then published via batch or through events to downstream systems applications using the data API integration layer. Next comes number 8, right, where after profiling, the cloud data quality assets can be exposed for further enterprise applications to call and standardized. So you can actually use data quality rules from the UI itself of master MDM SaaS. In number 9 and number 10, you have the application that can make API calls for search match, CRUD operations on the master data for data sync in real time for various operational and business use cases via API integration when orchestration is built as part of the API integration framework in either IDMC platform. In number 11, you have this is basically the same as above, but the application makes calls directly to MDM SaaS using public native APIs that we offer out of the box. In number 12, over here, you have data from MDM that can be pushed or published to the marketplace within the IDMC platform. Once the data is available in the marketplace, any application or data or stewards will be able to consume based on policies, permissions, and workflows as defined. And in 13 and 14, you have the application layer where applications can also publish event messages into the hub, which can be consumed for mastering and consolidation when they don't need any real-time integration. So this is the overall reference architecture. So now let's talk about the hierarchy configuration in MDM SaaS. For maintenance of hierarchies, we have the hierarchy model creation. So hierarchies show how records are related to one another. A hierarchy contains multiple first-level nodes, child records, and relationships between the records. For example, in the organization hierarchy, the Informatica record is the first-level node, as you can see in this particular picture over here. The hierarchy contains the John Smith record and a relationship from the Informatica record to the John Smith record. The hierarchy relationships that you can create depend on your hierarchy model. Hierarchies can be used to create, manage, and delete hierarchies. So you can have organization hierarchies, local hierarchies, organization to person, person to org, different kind of hierarchies and relationships. In the hierarchy tab, right, we can use to view the hierarchies a record belongs to. The page displays active, draft, and pending hierarchies, and the groups the hierarchy based on the hierarchy model. We can also view the parent and the children records in the hierarchy. So this kind of shows you a sample hierarchy, and we'll show that in the demo as well. Creation of a hierarchy, right? So during the creation of a hierarchy, we can add first level nodes. We can add child records to define parent-child relationships in the hierarchy. We can also define attribute values to provide more information about relationships. The hierarchy you create is a draft. When you submit your hierarchy, it's sent for approval based on your configuration. Whatever changes happen to the hierarchy can trigger a approval workflow. So to create a hierarchy, we have to first create from the Business 360 page, add first level nodes, then we can add and manage child records, and then the last step is optional. We can define relationship attribute values. Now moving off a hierarchy, right? There is a lot of time we have requirements from customers where we need to navigate through the hierarchy and move certain hierarchies from one to the another, right? For example, let's say the supervisor changes for employees, or under corporate hierarchy, there are changes, belonging to multiple levels of ship to, build to, pair, L1, L2. So moving a hierarchy, right, or changing a hierarchy, there's two options of doing that. One is removing a record from the hierarchy, right? And one is adding a record to the hierarchy, right? Now, movement between hierarchies, right? To move a record from one hierarchy to another, we can remove from the hierarchy and then add the record to the location you prefer within another hierarchy. Now, even when we do that, right, there's two options. One is you can move with the child records, another is you can move without the child records. Okay, so in this scenario, we have two campaign hierarchies, email and phone. Now you want to move the Holly Corbett record from the email hierarchy to the phone hierarchy. The Holly Corbett record has child records, Agatha, Arya, and James John. You can move the record with or without its child record. So this image shows the email and phone hierarchies and highlights the Holly Corbett record that you want to move. So like I said, there's two actions. One is with the child records and one is movement of the hierarchy without the child records. So removing the record from the email hierarchy, you have to ensure you select remove records only. When you try to select, you'll get an option and you add the record to the phone hierarchy, right? So what happens in the first option is the Holly Corbett is removed from the email hierarchy, but the child record associations weren't removed from the record. After the move, Holly Corbett and his child records appear now in the phone hierarchy. So it's a complete move. The second one is a partial move where Holly Corbett is removed from the email hierarchy. Also, the child records are removed from the Holly Corbett record. Now, after the move, only the Holly Corbett appears in the phone hierarchy, right? So this is movement without the children records. So we'll be covering some of the hierarchy demo. Uh, let's talk about the matching configuration a little bit, right? In the match configuration, we have in MDM SaaS, there are different kind of match models, right? So as you can see here, we have created some of these match models. The configuration can be done from the Business 360 console. We can navigate to the person or the organization tab, the business entity, go to the match tab and create these different match models. So we have declarative rules, right, that can be created. We can also do the machine learning model for creation of match models and train the machine learning to suggest rules. So the machine learning configuration is also located in the Business 360 console microservice. We'll also be covering that in the demo section. Uh, for machine learning, we have to run the match job. We first complete the configuration in the Business 360 console, and then we start training the match model to read the data, understand the data, and suggest patterns. So we create the labeling in the Business 360 console for the machine learning match pair training, and we trigger and execute the match job to give us potential duplicates from the data that can be merged to create the golden record. The labeling of the record pairs can be done as not a match, more match, not sure match. We have these different options as you can see in this picture over here. So that can be navigated and configured through. So it gives us the option of reviewing each of the pairs of the matches and then selecting what needs to be survived. This enables the data stewards to understand which match pair is the best. Along with matching, we also have survivorship and trust, where we rank sources on attributes We assign ranks to each of the attributes. We create survivorship rules to create the trust framework so that we understand which source can be trusted more, which source to trust less for every single attribute. So this is a role level, record level survivorship or trust framework that we create inside of MDM SaaS. This is basically the dynamic cell level survivorship for creating the best version of truth records. So as you can see in the golden record on the very top over here, we are selecting some values from the first name, last name, some from the address, from a different source, right? DDA or SFA, we are selecting the address. So multiple sources contribute together to create the golden record based on the match rules, based on the trust framework and the ranking that we configure inside of MDM SaaS. So this trust framework, right, it's basically weighting the system that assigns trust scores to every source column. Now that is dependent on reliability of the source data, also what kind of data it is, how recent the data is, validation rules that are present, and also using the intelligent system of machine learning, right? So based on these different factors, we decide how to consolidate a record and trust it, right? So we are going to switch over to the demo, right? And show you guys how the particular matching and hierarchy is working inside of MDM SaaS as two separate functionalities. So as part of this demo in this Tech Tuesday, the first part that we're going to cover is the brief walkthrough of out-of-the-box data model that we have. Now, there are two types of out-of-the-box entities in MDM SaaS. One is person and one is organization. In person, we have some basic fields and some smart fields. Basic fields are like the text fields, integer fields, decimal fields, Boolean fields, right? And some of the smart fields are more business sensitive fields like postal address, email address, and phone number. So these are context aware fields that have predefined properties such as some validation rules and match rules. And basic fields that just allow entry of specific data types, such as, like I said, text, integer, Boolean. You can also configure manually uh, match rules or data quality rules or validation rules for such fields. Now, we have a root entity, which is the first name, middle name, last name, full name, uh, birth date, gender, marital status, right? These are all some of the attributes in the parent entity. Then we have certain field groups like address, phone, email, social media, employment, education, tax details, alternate names, demographics, citizenship, so forth and so on. So these are all the child entities. So this is, remember, in a document style, right? Where we load the parent and all the child entities together. Now, if I zoom into the address or phone or email, right, go to the individual entity, you'll see we have the address type, right, which is kind of a reference value. For example, we have home address, corporate address, uh, we have a different kind of address type values. We have usage types, we have address status, we have address line 1, 2, 3. The ones marked in red are the mandatory fields, of course. So we can go back to these field groups again. We can take a look at the phone, we can take a look at the email, right? So this is the out of the box data model that we have. Now do remember that along with this out of the box data model, we can also create custom field groups or custom entities to extend the data model so that it satisfies your business requirements as well, right? Whatever attributes you might be having in your source system, you can map those to any of the custom field groups or attributes that you create over here. unless those are already available out of the box, right? So this is what we are offering as along with the product. This is based on industry standards. We've tried to cover most of these business entities and their respective attributes, right? Um, be it like I said, identifier or any other, right? We have you can load, for example, an identifier, the tax details, the NPI ID of a doctor, right, or a physician, so that you can use it for different kind of purposes. Now when we go to the data quality tab, right, you can have some basic and advanced data qualities that you can build over here for each and every of these entities that we have. We also have data as a service. So we have address, phone, email, uh, service connectivity, and connectors available to MDM SaaS, right? Which you can configure as DaaS services. We can build match rules for each of these, right? We can build these rules or use these rules to identify potential duplicates and run the match rules on the entity, right, to find out the match results. It can be an auto rule, it can be a manual rule, and we can run the match job to create our golden records. We can define the survivorship, and we can define business events, like I mentioned previously, to publish any kind of data changes that happens to these field groups or attributes as well, so that whoever are the consuming systems, they are notified or they were aware of these system triggered or user triggered changes that happen to the data. So you can see you can add different kind of events over here, right? You can add a user triggered event, for example, right? Uh, which roles are affected by those events, or if we go back over here, right, you can add a publishing event. Now, a publishing event also can be, you can add like, okay, for which business entity do I want that event to be published, right? Or you can add a system trigger. Now, system trigger is basically like, okay, some merge task is happening, right? Or some kind of a any other action that, like for example, match. So for those different events, you can configure events, workflows. It can go through a multiple level workflow, and when it is approved, right, so that event will get triggered, right? So these are some of the out of the box features or out of the box functionalities that are available over here, right? You can configure data quality, right, inside of MDM SaaS. This is not cloud data quality, right? This is something that you can configure inside of MDM SaaS to make some changes to the data, make it init caps, or do some basic validations as well, right? So this is the data model that we have over here that, like I said, you can extend, customize, or use to load your data inside of MDM SaaS. So this is all happening inside the B360 console, which is where all the configurations are taking place, right? And in the customer 360, we are going to show you some of the hierarchy and match and merge examples, along with some configurations as well. So let's take a look at some of the match rules that we can build over here, right? For example, let's take a look at this particular rule. So this is for out of the box match rule set for a person business entity, right? As you can see over here, we have one standard candidate selection criteria, and we can edit this, right, to add more selection criterias. For example, which field do we want to add over here, right? First name, middle name, last name. We have the entire list or population of name of attributes that we can add over here, right? What is the field type, right? Is it like a organization name? Is it like a person name? Is it like a code? Is it part of the address, right? So the field type will kind of help with the algorithm of the matching. We can filter the candidates, right, by a particular segment value. We can have different type of key generation levels, like does it have to be a standard key, a very liberal key, or a very conservative key, like limited. Based on that, MDM SaaS will generate the keys, the length of the keys, the extensive ability of the key, and it can be typical, narrow, extreme, and exhaustive candidate search level, right? So all of these affect the different criterias based on which a particular match rule is configured and a match takes place, right? Also, along with this, we have declarative rules, right? So you can have like auto rules, you can have different kind of uh, manual rules, right? So this one is like an auto fuzzy rule. You can add required fields to declarative rules. You can add optional fields. You can configure exact match field properties also. So there's a lot of options that you can add over here and configure based on the kind of match that you want to generate, right? And you have the machine learning model, right? Now, this is something where if you click on start training, right, what happens is uh, match training will be created. And based on that match training, it will give you suggestive matches. And the product itself will start training the data for the match algorithm, right? So you can read more about this in our documentation at docs.informatica.com. And you can also feel free to ask us questions after this Tech Tuesday session is over. If you have any specific queries about machine learning model, declarative rules, or model configurations, right? But overall, these are some of the most important configurations that are available for different kind of matching rules, right? So you can have auto, you can have fuzzy, you can have machine learning to generate potential duplicates. Now, do remember that when you're doing your matching, uh, it is extremely important that we create survivorship rules to understand the and trust to understand the framework of how records are going to get matched, how they're going to get generated through by using the golden copy, right? So you have like different attributes. You can select ranks for these different attributes, right? You can give them different kind of ranking, and based on that ranking, right, you can select like, okay, which source system do I trust more for this particular attribute, right? And based on that, the tool or the product will know, okay, I need to trust Informatica Customer 360 source more than, let's say, SAP or SFDC or Marketo or Dun& Bradstreet for the first name or the middle name, whatever the ranking I'm going to provide, right? Now, based on that, again, this survivorship and trust framework is very important. So the trust and survivorship dictates how the golden record will be created and how overall data which is coming from multiple source systems with the almost the similar kind of snapshots will be created. Also, let me show you guys how to configure the DK over here. So for example, let's say I want to set up a DK for Marketo or SFDC, right? So you have the maximum trust score, which can be anywhere between 0 to 1. You have the minimum trust score, you have the years, you have second hour, you can choose the unit of decay, right? And let's say it's over 10 years. So you can do linear, you can do rapid initial, slow later, or you can do slow initial, rapid later, right? So based on this, it'll show you what is the decay percentage of the graph for this particular column, right? Like any of these attributes, and you can select that particular decay so that during matching, this is taken into consideration and calculated while merging the data. So this is about survivorship. Also, we have hierarchies over here in relationships. So you can actually configure jobs to generate match keys, right? Or search keys. You can create jobs for running match and merge. You can generate merge tasks, and you can also create hierarchies and relationships from here to define any new relationship between business entities, or a hierarchy between the different business entities. So we've come to the last part of today's Tech Tuesday session. I'm going to show you a simple example of a merge and a match. So for this Hue Brock, as you can see, it's been loaded from 3 different source systems, right? S1, S2, and S3. So these are the 3 different source systems. Now, based on this matching criteria and whatever configurations I covered, you'll see it has selected this hue, right? It selects the based on the source system ranking, the trust, the decay, the survivorship rules, which one to survive and override over the other. It selects based on different birth dates and attributes and genders, what are the best possible values that should be surviving in the golden copy for all the business entities, be it address, phone, ID, email, everything, right? Um, so it's marked in this blue color, the one values that have been selected in the final merged golden copy, right? Also, you can override the surviving values if you, as a data steward for governing the data, right? If you feel any other value should survive, so you can click here and you can select to override that particular trust score. This is kind of a manual override for selecting any specific value for any specific attribute. You can unmerge the records so that this particular golden record decomposes into 3 singleton records again, right? Also, what you can do is you can click on show trust scores and see the different trust scores of the attributes over here that have been assigned. And also what you can do is merge records, right? You can, as a data steward or a product owner or a business associate, you can add records by searching for those records. For example, let's say I search with Hue, right? And I get like let's say a Hue church, right? For example, and when I select this, it'll give me the option to add this particular record, right? And what it'll do is give me an option to merge these 2 records together to form one single record, right? So these are the various match and merge options that you have, and manual actions that you can take on your data set that you load inside of MDM. Now, coming to hierarchies, right? We have some inbuilt hierarchies in the environment that we have built for demo purposes. Some of these are like supplier hierarchies, sales hierarchies, um, energy hierarchies, employee hierarchies. I'll probably show you guys one of these employee hierarchies over here. So let me open this up. So it kind of shows you the different levels and segmentation of multiple employees. So you can see the relationship here. It's organization to person for each of these, right? So let's say if I click over here, Dave Smith, right? It'll kind of show you that, okay, this particular employee belongs to Informatica LLC, right? So this kind of showing you all the different people that are assigned to this. Now, do remember the configuration for this hierarchy has been done in Business 360 console, and in Customer 360, we are able to govern the data, we are able to see the relationships, we're able to select between date time frames, what is the relationship between these records, right? And see the different relationships. So all of these records are belonging to Informatica LLC. The moment for example, I click on Linda Johnson, it shows you the parent record being Informatica LLC, and you can click on Informatica LLC, which will take you to the business entity view of this record to see this particular record's different kind of information, right? If, for example, if you go to you can go to the hierarchy view and navigate through the different data sets and linkages and relationships that are present over here. So this is how a typical hierarchy looks like. Again, you can add first level nodes over here, right? When you add a first level node, you can add records to this hierarchy. You can delete records from this hierarchy. You can move records from this hierarchy. Like I've shown, you can filter, right? Based on what are the different record types or the different relationship type for this, right? So these are the various options that you have. So in this last example, I'll show you guys the Walt Disney Dun& Bradstreet record that we have loaded over here. So for this, you can see the Walt Disney family. It's, as you guys know, it's a big conglomerate, right? It has uh, Marvel, it has theme parks, it has entertainment, movies. So it has resorts in all over in Florida and California. So you'll see the different subdivisions and the sub relationships and the distributors and the suppliers and the different agencies that belong to Disney, right? So all of these can be viewed over here in the hierarchy view of this particular record, right? And you can also, for this particular Disney, you can see the different relationships that are present over here, like organization to organization, it's org to org. So for example, Lucasfilm, right? Or Marvel Entertainment, if you click on this, it'll kind of show you that, okay, this belongs to one parent, which is Lucasfilm, right? And then Lucasfilm in turn belongs to Disney, right? So when I click over here, it kind of shows you all the child records that you have, and then each of these, right, also has its individual child records as well when I go to the hierarchy view. So that's how you can see the parent records and the child records. Also, if you go to the network view over here, right, you'll see the entire canonical 360-degree structure of Walt Disney and Disney Enterprises connected to all these different entities that has been loaded. So the blueprint has been configured and present. We're just showing you the overall high level view of how this record looks like, right? So if I click on this, it's going to expand and show you the different enterprises and our companies that are owned or partially owned by Disney and connected. So you can configure these different relationships, right? And you can see like, okay, there's two more under Walt Disney Company. It'll show you like Disneyland International and Image Movers Digital LLC. So you can keep drilling down, right, from Disney Enterprises, and you can check what are the different relationships, what are the different entities, right? From here, if I go over here one more, right? So you can again drill down to the individual level companies over here. So this kind of gives you overall network view. So this is how we configure and display matching algorithms, match merge, and hierarchy inside of MDM SaaS. There's a lot more to cover in the features and functionalities. I request all of you to take a look at docs.informatica.com, go through the documents, and come back to us with any questions or email us for any questions that you might have. And I'll try my best to answer any questions that you have. And also, please do ask your questions, and we'll try to answer them. Thank you so much for attending. Have a good day.
Hi all, we have reached the Q&A part. Please post your questions.
So it says, how's C360 different than multi-domain edition? So the multi-domain edition has a more generalized out-of-the-box models. C360, S360, P360, these are more industry-specific customer, supplier, or product domain-specific data models that we have. So it's just the way some of the features or functionalities that are built inside of C360 and how it's different from a generic multi-domain edition. So if somebody would go for a multi-domain edition if they had more of a very generic use case, if they want to build everything from ground up. But there's another question. Is there an advantage of using C360 / P360 instead of multi-domain edition? Like I said, if you're trying to master or build out golden copies or records and syndicate them based on customer domains or product domains, you definitely go for a C360 and P360 SaaS. Otherwise, you'll probably go for a multi-domain edition based on your customer use cases. I mean, obviously, feel free to reach out to our sales team for more specific demos and information on that, but that's the way it's designed right now. Please feel free to post your questions on the chat. I can call out those questions and answer them over here. So there's another question. So there's a limitation with respect to batch lock and API lock interval. Both load BES API followed by match merge calls can happen simultaneously. So yeah, we can do the load jobs, run them through either CDI, cloud data integration, or we can run the APIs through real-time processing or do business events. Now, once the data load has been done, and we can follow up with CAI calls, or we can execute or invoke out-of-the-box APIs that come with MDM SaaS. So we can synchronize and design the flow accordingly. Please feel free to reach out to me directly if you want to discuss this use case further. So there's another question, how to represent foreign key structure as we had in on-prem MDM. So on-prem MDM, what we have to understand is the denormalized database, the normalized database and the way the structure was, see repose tables and HMRG, cross-references, everything, right? The way the SaaS product works is very different in the structure itself. I mean, the functionalities and the features are still the same, match, merge, hierarchies, and more UIs, right? Searching, APIs, message queues, right? More so and on, right? But the way the structure is that in MDM SaaS, we have a document style JSON representative database, right? Now, in this document style, we do not give access to the MongoDB underlying database because of security reasons, of course, right? Like this is the standard with any SaaS products that's out there in the world, right? What we do is we give you egress options or export options to look at the data, view the data, or publish the data. Now, to represent the foreign key structure, you can build your own PK source object as well in the cloud data integration layer in your mappings when you're passing data from the legacy source system to MDM ecosystem, right? So you can build out that foreign key structure as you wish, whether it be a native SFDC ID or a custom ID, or you want to generate the business ID inside of MDM like we had persistent ID or persist ID in on-prem. So you can build multiple custom keys and foreign keys as well and store them. Okay. Two more questions that we have is, can Informatica MDM integrate with Azure Data Factory if current ETL is Azure ADF and not InfoPC? So Informatica MDM can integrate with Azure. So the way SaaS works is that we have multiple native connectors out of the box, right? Now there are like multiple of these connectors which can connect to Oracle, to Azure, to Snowflake, to Oracle, to flat files, to CSV files. So you can connect to these different heterogeneous databases and ingest data inside of Informatica MDM. So that kind of integration is possible. But again, I would have to take a look at your use case specifically to figure out the flow of the data. Any other questions, please, that we can assist with? Okay. If there's no more questions, guys, feel free to reach out to me directly For any technical or business-related questions, functionalities on MDM SaaS, cloud data integration, or cloud data quality, and we can discuss further. Okay, there's another question. The functionality of cleanse functions is replaced by CDQ. So we have cleanse functions, something similar to that inside of MDM SaaS as well. The data model that I was showing, right, the field groups and the individual attributes, if you click each of those attributes and field groups like education, tax, first name, last name, address, email, phone, right, you can configure cleanse functions over there, like basic functions, but you can build out your entire extensive, exhaustive standardization, transformation, profiling the data, and cleansing, like rules for cleaning your data and enhancing the quality of the data. You can do that directly in Cloud Data Quality. So the CDI mapping would use the CDQ cleanse functions or data quality rules before loading the data inside of MDM SaaS. So we have cleanse functions in SaaS and we have CDQ as well. Both kind of coexist together. The next question is, can I publish information in real time for MDM C360 in SaaS? Yeah, absolutely. There's like a whole bunch of API libraries that we provide out of the box. For MDM SaaS, you can go to docs.informatica.com, and in that, if you go to Cloud MDM, you'll see there's like a REST API reference doc. The REST API reference doc lists down all the APIs that we have published for any kind of create, read, update, delete operations, hierarchy API, matchment API. So you can publish information in real time using those APIs. You can publish in batch through CDI. You can publish in near real time using business events, right? So you can even ingress data in MDM SaaS C360 using APIs. So you can do both ingress and egress.
Any more questions? We see no questions coming in. We will end the webinar. Thank you, Shaurya, for presenting today's webinar. We request audience to take up the survey and let us know your thoughts. Today's webinar will be available tomorrow on Success Portal under the Resources tab. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.